trying to push down on the arm, it's either not going to work or you've got an uke who's being nice to you and letting you do that, right? So we have this concept of like unbendable arm in Aikido, right? It's not that you're like holding a rigid fist, but extending outward. And if he's doing that, and me pushing this way isn't going to do much. So try to focus not so much on pushing down on the arm, maintain the unbendable arm yourself, and just connect here through your center. As soon as his posture starts to break, things become much easier. He can't maintain that same extension, but if you feel like you're pushing down to start, that's going to be really hard if you don't have a very compliant uke, right? So keep this extended, just connect here. Think of this more like a crowbar, and you need to move this end through your hips to make this connection. One more time. Are trying to push down on the arm, it's either not going to work or you've got an uke who's being nice to you and letting you do that, right? So we have this concept of like unbendable arm in Aikido, right? It's not that you're like holding a rigid fist, but extending outward. And if he's doing that, and me pushing this way isn't going to do much. So try to focus not so much on pushing down on the arm, maintain the unbendable arm yourself, and just connect here through your center. As soon as his posture starts to break, things become much easier. He can't maintain that same extension, but if you feel like you're pushing down to start, that's going to be really hard if you don't have a very compliant uke, right? So keep this extended, just connect here. Think of this more like a crowbar, and you need to move this end through your hips to make this connection. Down here, we're all working with physics, the same body mechanics here, right? And it may be that depending on where he grabs, particularly if he's near the outside here, I just don't have the angle from where my posture is that I can just turn my hips and do this. So like if you were using a crowbar to move something, you need to get to the right position to move it. Maybe I need to move my hips a little bit so that I have that angle to move in. The reality is if he's grabbing me way out here, this is not going to work, right? I'm going to have to hook around and doing something else, and another technique is probably better. So don't. And if he decides that he's just going to lock down and become like a piece of iron, this is going to be hard to do. But he's not really in a martial posture, ready to strike me. If his 100% focus is just on I can maintain this posture and you can't break it, I should probably just hit him at that point because he's not defending himself either or prepared to hit me, right? But if he is, right? So if you can't get this posture here, position your body to where you can sink your weight and move in there. But again, don't worry about moving your arm too much. There's no need to change the shape of your arm throughout any part of the technique. Yeah. Let's switch partners. So this time, instead of connecting from the outside, connect from the inside, move through Kazushi, right? I want to take his balance first. Just like before, this idea of unbendable arm. If I get to here and I start hooking, I'm not really affecting his posture much, and I'm very top heavy. So just keep this arm extended. Point out that I paid attention during yesterday's class. But there are two things that Asim said that I want to emphasize here as well. They're important. I think the first one, if I'm phrasing it correctly, is stay away from that hand, right? It's not this hand that I'm worried about staying away from. I know where this one is. It's not really a problem. That hand is the problem. If I'm focused on just making a big circle here and coming around and getting this arm, I've already eaten a punch. And almost certainly the reason for holding me here is so that he can decide when he's gonna throw that punch or kick, right? So the second point that I want to emphasize is, I think that you phrase it, don't localize, right? And that's, you're localizing in the arm if you're doing this, oh, I totally need to hook this arm, and then I can do this technique. And even here, at this point, we're bunched up now. He can still grab me with the other arm. He can still hit me, take me down to the ground, right? So, first point, stay away from that hand. This isn't the atemi. The atemi is here, right? Now, that hand is less of a threat, and he's off balance, which makes the rest of this easier. Just like the previous technique, there's no need to bend my arm yet. I should be able to go down through my fingertips, rotate my hips, and point out to the opposite wall. If you notice now, his hips are rotated away from me, and now I can bend my arm. This part is done, and I can just attach this to me for the rest of the technique. But if I cheat it and get down to here, we're grappling at this point. He's not going to just stand there and let me do this, right? So extend all the way out to get his hips rotated away. Now you can connect this to yourself. Right. Come down for the rest of the technique. Try it one more time. Think of the arm here. Make a big enough movement that you're away from that hand and that you've compromised his posture, right? The goal here, again, keep that arm extended. I want to keep his hips rotating away. From here, even though I'm doing a very different technique, it should look a lot like Shihonage from Uke's perspective, right? His hips are rotated forward, the elbow's up here. Since people asked about the pin, so as I go down, I'm just going to connect to him, go down on the back knee. You need to follow your uke so they don't get away from you. Right? You can put this knee on top, still have this pinched here. If you're just pushing your hand again, this is bunching up, just extend. Like you're reaching far away. You need to be a little bit closer to their head, not pointing towards their butt, but it's not that he's gonna grab me and pull me over if I'm leaning, right? So posture upright, just reach out towards the other wall. All right. Let's switch partners a couple more times. So just switching to Kata Minuchi, it's the same entry that I did before. I'm not trying to move past her. If I were knocking her head off, it wouldn't be in that direction. It would be over here. Get off the line, affect her posture. Just detail. Kata Minuchi. So still the same entry as before. So this time I'm not in early enough and he's overpowering me, so I need to give, right? So I'll tenkan, keep this connection to uke, to Shihonage, the other side. So the reality is that a lot of the techniques we do, there's sort of a continuum between them. Katatsu is not that different from ski. Here, if he just grabs, if I'm early enough and he hasn't decided on which pump he's gonna, hit me, I can come in and do this technique. If I come in early enough and we get to here, he may be blocking, right? Ikkyo initially was nage moving into uke space and continuing. So if I can get in early enough when he strikes, I can move off the line. And if I don't, this isn't gonna work, so I need to give. So let's add kata, minuchi, shihunage to the mix. Practice that a few times, but then uke, play around with how you're coming in, how much energy you're giving, because we shouldn't be picking, we often will do these techniques, and we think it's colored by numbers. If I just do the technique right, and do every step the way that I'm supposed to, it will work, but you don't really control how uke reacts entirely, right? If you're good enough, you might be able to, but you don't know how fast they're gonna come in, if they're gonna beat you to the punch or the strike, whether you'll be able to move through, or whether you're gonna have to give way. So practice this technique a few times, and then mix it up a little bit, and feel, okay, I can go through, that's fine, right? Or if he's giving me a little more, or gets in a little earlier and I can't, then adjust and do something else instead. Yep, that's it, right? Essentially, same stretch we started with. Just